Fun is Racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. Hopefully you liked our new introduction. We're really happy with it. We have all the action for you this week for the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. With this week's track breakdown, Jamie Liehr.
What's going on, race fans? Good to be with you for another week here. Starting out, the race this week is going to be at Daytona Beach in Daytona, Florida, doing this Coke Zero 400 this week. Track's 2.5 miles in length with 160 laps to complete the 400 miles. We all know this is a big oval track. The degree of turns are 31 and 18 on some of the tri-ovals. Multi-grooves here with up to 3 wide racing, but majority of the 2 wide will be breakaway guys. So this is obviously America's finest racetrack right here is Daytona. And when it comes to restrictor plate racing, this is just some of the best racing that we have on the circuit. But this is the second race here at Daytona in 2016. The key here is to avoid the big wreck, obviously. Stay up front and out of the middle of the pack. You're going to need guys for your DraftKings teams, a mixture of guys with place differential. Mostly that because we only have 160 laps this week. But then also the same guy that's going to be leading most of the laps, and then also have laps, fastest laps as well, and laps led. Race is going to be Saturday night, July 2nd, which is tomorrow at 7:45 Eastern time on NBCSN. Race will be exciting with a ton of drafting and a possibility of a lot of pit stops, so it should be a lot of action, like I said. It'll be hot, so there will be a less focus on speed and more on driver ability this week with handling of the cars with their tires that they have. But the weather tomorrow is going to be 75 degrees. Early day thunderstorms with a 40% chance of precipitation towards the end. Wind will be south-southwest at 8 miles an hour with 88% humidity. I don't know if that's a sign for the number 88. But anyways, real quick too, don't forget, we've got the guy that's getting the pole this week, Greg Biffle. We're giving away the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 Greg Biffle autographed. It comes with a authenticity as well. So we have to get 1,000 views, and we'll give this away to somebody that likes and comments on the show.
Thank you, Jamie Liehr. And it's time for us to get right into the picks with the Burnin' Rubber segment.
Burnin' Rubber, baby, Daytona!
Adrian, who you got to burn some rubber for us this week, brother?
Oh, yeah. Well, some call him the Pied Piper of Daytona. Others call him Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's starting 16th, which gives him automatically a great opportunity for place differential. He's the defending July Daytona race winner. Top 3 finishes at Daytona in 5 of his last 9 starts. Throughout the practice sessions, you see that he qualified 16th, and that might worry you a little bit. But Dale Jr. talked about throughout the practice sessions that team worked on, the handling of the car because it was going to be hot and slick Saturday night for this race. So they said that they didn't focus on straight line speed as much as they did, the pure handling of the car. And he says that the car would race very well. That's proven because he ran 33 laps in the final practice, the most of any driver. And that's not necessarily something you see Hendrick, doing because they have the limit of the laps they like to run on their motors. But he has the second best average finish at Daytona all time, which is pretty impressive. 19 top 10s and 33 Daytona starts, 4 Daytona wins. And guys, he's just ready to get victory number 1 of 2016. And Dale Jr. tends to struggle during the summer. And if he can get this win at Daytona on Saturday night, it really start pushing that team in the right direction. And they're very capable of it. And I just think this is the weekend they get it done. It's crazy they went this far into the season without getting a win. But this is the weekend Dale Earnhardt Jr. pulls into victory lane. And I can't wait to see it. He deserves it so much.
Well, I couldn't agree with you. But I prefer the water cooler Dale. Basically, Earnhardt, this is his track. He's a restrictor plate racing stud, and with all the active drivers, he is number 1 as when it comes to driver averages and finishes here. Like you said, with the 4 wins, And it's a little bit of a sticky situation right now. With being in the Cup, the Sprint Cup Championship, he's right there on the cusp. He doesn't have a win in 2016, and with Tony Stewart getting that win, it kind of puts a little bit of a different play as far as the Cup points go. So they're going to need a win here in 2016, I think, to get them into that the Sprint Cup Championship to race for that. So he's got all of his chances at the restrictor plates, and that's only 2 of them left. So this is one of 2, and starting from that 16th position, he's got a great opportunity to get you some place differential. And if him and his crew chief, they get out there and they can get some strategy together and get up there to the front with maybe some different pit strategy. It definitely could lead some laps, and he'll have some fastest laps, that's for sure. But look for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to have a good, positive fantasy week this weekend, and he's going to be one of those guys that you're going to have to take down one of those GPPs this week.
Yeah, look, in my opinion, there's basically 7 drivers that you really need to worry about leading laps and leading a lot of them, and he's one of that group of 7. I'll talk about 4 of them on my burning rubber pick to give you a little bit of hint where I'm going. But I'm also a huge fan. There's no need to repeat the stats, but I'm also a huge fan this week of Jimmy Johnson starting 8th at 10,100 in that same price range, and Kevin Harvick at 10.3 starting 21st for place differential. You're going to have to choose between those elite drivers this week, and you can possibly get 2 on, but once you spend above the 10K mark for 2 drivers, it really handcuffs what you can do this week. So instead of spending more time talking about why we love Dale Jr., because we all do, and I honestly think starting 16th, it'll probably be first caution, second caution before he starts leading laps. Probably around 30 laps in, he's going to start leading laps. And I just think it's the right play. And if he's not, it'll be Jimmy, Harvick, or some of the guys that we're talking about here in a little bit. With that said, Liehr, who's your guy to burn? What? What did you say, Adrian?
I said it'll be the Gibbs car. If it's not Kevin Harvick or Dale Jr., it'll be the Gibbs cars.
We're going to get there, buddy. We're going to get there. Liehr, who's your guy to burn some rubber this week?
All right, boys. Going back to the well, going to my boy, my favorite driver on the NASCAR circuit, and that would be Mr. Number 78, Martin Truex Jr. Truex Jr., this year, guys, he's got a win under his belt, that absolutely dominating performance there at the Coca-Cola 600. And he's going to look to top off the Coca-Cola family of racing with the Coca-Cola Zero 400 this week, or I should say Coke Zero 400. But he's got 22 starts here at Daytona. He doesn't have a win under his belt yet, but he's got 1 top 5 finish. That was actually the one in the one in this past February where he barely lost to Denny Hamlin there on the last lap. But he's got 3 top 10s. He qualified 15th today, but his car looked very, very strong in practice and also in qualifying. He and Cole Pern are doing some great things with their restrictor plate templates here. And Martin's one of those, won the first race, like I said, almost this season, losing to Denny Hamlin. It was just by minimals of seconds. His cost this week is $9,500, which is a little high for me based off of his track history and here. But his starting position has got to give you some leeway here as to picking him as one of your main drivers this week. And he's in the Bass Pro Shop vehicle again this week. And every time he's had that paint scheme this year, he's always done very well and led a bunch of laps. So, but he come with a low ownership percentage this week because I think a lot of people are going to be turned off by his middle of the tier starting position there, along with his $9,500 salary. And he has some really strong cars starting around him, like the guy we just talked about, Dale Earnhardt Jr., starting 16th, 1 spot right behind him. So he's going to have the ability to follow Earnhardt as he moves through the track and through the different cars. But look for him to draft very well in this race and get up there and move up to the front. And I think that Truex is going to make history here, and he's going to get his first race win here at Daytona this coming weekend, tomorrow night at the Coke Zero 400.
Oh, Rain Man, how I love you, man. Wow, bro. No, the second place finish, and I get you're going off of, his current, like the way he's driving currently and how he's placed on restrictor plates this year. And that makes perfect sense. The problem I have is that in his last 5 races here, his average finish is 21st, right? That's around the same grouping as Menard, Keselowski, Kane, Reagan, Stenhouse, Castle. All those guys at Daytona have roughly the same average finish. They all are significantly cheaper than he is, right? If we're being honest, Truex is like the Batman villain Two-Face at this track. He's either really good or really terrible. There's no in between. The problem I have is it's not a flip of the coin that's even, right? He's way worse than he is good on this track. And when bad wins out, fantasy owners suffer. In the last 6 races here, he has the second, but he also has a 38th, an 8th, a 15th, which won't help you at the $9,500 salary point, a 43rd, and a 41st. That's just not something I want to deal with for that price tag. Now, because of his high-end finishes and because of what you said, that he has that chance to win and pull it off, and he is in JGR equipment, as you're going to see me talk about and rave about here in a second, I totally understand, and I will have some lineups with Truex on it. I just can't say that he's my pick to burn some rubber this week.
All I'm going to say in response to that real quick is 3 out of those that you just mentioned all had to do with either a crash or an engine problem. So 2 out of those 3 have to do with crashes. So if we're talking about variables here, and this racetrack is a huge one for that type of variable to play with your team, I mean, we're playing poker here basically. So, I mean, a lot of that has to do with stuff that is completely out of his control.
Oh, for sure. He seems to find that more than most drivers. So that was my point.
Okay.
Adrian, your thoughts?
I mean, look, he's in Toyota Power. I mean, he's got the alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing, and that's shown all season long how much that's helped him. And Martin Truex Jr. is actually a good restricted plate driver. He just has terrible luck, and he's had terrible luck in a lot of situations throughout his career. He should have probably won a lot more races than he has to this point in his career. But there's a lot of other drivers. Like, I like Matt Kenseth and Chase Elliott a lot more than Martin Truex Jr. this week. But the thing is, it's Daytona. And if you're, playing the dark horse that is Daytona, and you can, maybe see how fast these Joe Gibbs equipment cars are, Martin Truex Jr. is one of the cheapest, other than Kenseth, as cheap as you're going to get one of those cars. So I like him because of that. I don't really read too much into track history here at Daytona because I think Daytona is based on driver tendencies more than the results, because sometimes a lot of things are out of the driver's control. So, I don't hate Martin Truex Jr. He's one of those drivers where a lot of people won't pick him, and he's going to have a sneaky top 3, and you're going to be like, I cannot believe I didn't see that. I mean, he just does that, and that's the kind of driver he is. He's not necessarily someone that I'm on very heavily this weekend. I think in that situation, I'm playing Chase Elliott a lot. I really like Chase.
Yeah, no, that's actually where I go instead. But that transitions us nicely into my burning rubber pick, since we've already sort of talked about the Toyota Power. I'm rolling with Hamlin this week at 9,800. In the last 5 races at this track, he has a win, 5 top 6s. Okay, so it's 4 top 5s and a 6th place, but I wanted to give him credit for that because 6th is just as good as 5th, in my opinion, for DFS purposes. Right? He's led the second most amount of laps here at 125. His average finish is 3rd. He qualified 9th and is in the same GR equipment that qualified 2nd, 3rd, 7th, and 7th this week. All are in play this week. I like Rowdy at 9,900. I like Edwards at 9,300. And Kenseth at 8,600. But of the 4, Hamlin has the best track history, specifically right now in the last 5 races. He's just utterly dominating Daytona, and I encourage you to roster him. You will be glad you're owning the JGR guys this week. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, with it being so hard to pass at Daytona, these drivers stay stuck together for so long, such long periods of the race. They're just kind of hanging on each other's doors. And if the race is like that, that's going to make it to where whoever has the most power is going to go to the front. And that's why you see all the Joe Gibbs cars at the front, in these replays. If you watch the past couple of years, races at restrictor plates, they just know how to team up and gang up on the rest of the field. And basically the entire race is spent trying to break the guys up. Dale Jr., unless Jimmy Johnson gets up there with Dale Jr., those Joe Gibbs cars are going to give Dale Jr. an absolute headache so well, and they swarm you so well, at the front because they stick together and, they're committed to that. So, I mean, Denny Hamlin has great track history here. I like all the Joe Gibbs cars this weekend just because of how fast those cars have been this year. But I think that they're not as prepared handling-wise as maybe the Hendrick Motorsports cars are. I think the Hendrick cars and the Stewart-Haas cars focus more on handling during practice. I think the Gibbs cars more on trying to find that raw speed. And Brad Keselowski talked about that. He's like, we'll worry about the race speed another day. They interviewed him before qualifying, and they're like, how's the car in race trim? He's like, well, we didn't really work on the handling. It's probably going to be a handling race, but we'll focus on the handling another day. So I don't really know. I like all the power that Joe Gibbs is putting out. So that's why I like him.
Liehr?
I mean, Hamlin, he's got some good history here. I mean, 21 starts. Like you said, he's got that win this year. I do think he's a little bit pricey, 9,800 for just who he is. His average start is 18th, average finish is 17th, so we're not talking much history difference there. But the one nice thing is he just has the one DNF here, so he does have some good history with not getting caught up in all the hoopla when it gets into the wrecks and everything like that, because then that means that he's mostly out front. But I definitely do love the fact of what you brought up. His last 5 races here, basically all top 5s. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. But most of them, too, though, are coming with horrible, horrible qualifying starts. So you're talking a 37th qualifying start, 42nd, 35th. And then, this past one in February was 11th. So, but, you're definitely going to have some exposure to Denny Hamlin, also with the Joe Gibbs guys. But, I'm right there in agreement with Adrian. It's pretty apparent that Joe Gibbs really cares about speed and not as much about handling. And this race, I mean, when it comes to drafting, it's going to have to be about handling. And you can totally see that earlier when Kyle Busch, I know it was because of a left rear tire being cut, but he went straight into the wall. But, when it comes to Denny Hamlin, I'm definitely going to have some exposure to Denny Hamlin this week. But I'm going to be tapering my exposure just because I think a lot of people are going to be on him and like him just like you.
Fair enough, dude. I wanted to let you go first because I want to give my Rain Man argument after you after you told about him. It just in honor of you. The Rain Man argument here is that people were calling him out last week for losing that race, saying that he intentionally lost.
Yeah.
And he's kind of furious about that because, as a driver, when you make a mistake, I can only imagine it gets amplified when people are like, "Oh, you just cheated. You let him win," and you're like, "Man, like that would hurt twice as bad." And right. I just think he's going to be super motivated, Rain Man style. Like, it's just my gut. I have all the data to back it up, but gut tells me that he's going to go out there and get it done.
The thing with last weekend is Denny initiated the contact in turn 7 on the last lap. The entire NASCAR garage, all of the drivers, if you listen to the radioactive, all the spotters said that the 11 just initiated the contact. Tony Stewart is not going to lose this race. Sail it off in there and tuck it in wide. Tony's just going to spin him out. But what Denny did is he tried to hang it out wide so that maybe Tony would get under him and they would both wreck. So, I mean, Denny knew he wasn't going to win the race either way. He was just trying to keep from wrecking worse. So, I mean, there's not really much Denny could do. He didn't miss the corner that bad. Yeah. He prepared that line to go through there. He might have the tires.
See, I think he just made
him was a storyline.
Oh, I thought he just made a mistake in strategy. I thought he wanted to try to drag race Stewart to the line by taking the outside line and hoping he didn't get wrecked. So,
because if it was a drag race, Stewart would have put him in the wall anyway.
Probably. Which would have made me a lot of money last week, but unfortunately that did not happen. Anyway,
I sure was hoping for that.
That wraps up our Birded Rubber segment. Those are the guys we love the best this week. Now let's move it on to value. Adrian, who do you got for us for value this week?
Oh yeah, I got the Cessna Jet. We got the Liehr Jet, but I'm going to take the Cessna Jet. Starting 29th, great place differential chance for this guy. He's finished better than 29th in 5 of his last 6 Daytona starts. Has some bad finishes at Daytona, but that's just due to how aggressive McMurray is at these plate tracks. He likes to change lanes a lot and try to find the fastest run. He's always looking for a chance to improve his position. So I like a driver that's always on the offensive. even if it doesn't work out a lot. But, it doesn't work out for a lot of drivers that take it easy in these Daytona races either. And, he's always been a strong restrictor plate driver. So, just because of the driver he is and where he's starting, and this being one of the only chances McMurray's going to have to make the chase, before we reach, Richmond, I think that McMurray, this is a very, very important race for Jamie McMurray and his team. And I don't think they're going to let this opportunity slip by. They got a bad qualifying start, but I think that Cessna team is going to be very ready to take that car to the front and bring Chip Ganassi another solid finish this season.
Oh, Jamie Mack. Kind of a record here, talking about him 2 weeks in a row. But, I definitely like some Jamie Mack, especially, like we said, starting from the 29th position, it's a no-brainer. This is a free spot when it comes to your fantasy team to pick Jamie Mack, especially at his cost point of $7,800. You're not going to get much better than that with place differential guy. Now, there are a couple guys that do cost a little bit less than that do start in the 30s, but there's a significant difference in teams and also driver abilities when it comes to that. But, he's got a ton of experience here at Daytona, 27 starts total. He does have 2 wins, but like you were talking about, he's got a lot of, does not finishes. So he's got 8 DNFs here, which is crazy because he is that aggressive when it comes to this type of racing. So, but that's the kind of guy that you want to, if you're going to take a chance and you want somebody that legitimately wants to go up to the front and win this race. And he's right there. He's teetering on the Sprint Cup, chase from that 15th spot. So I definitely like Jamie Mack this week, and I will have some exposure to Jamie Mack as well.
Yeah, Jamie Mack's a great play because of him being underpriced and him being the best equipment at the worst qualifying position. Other than that, I'm not sure I want to make him a play. I kind of wish he would have qualified high so I could have easily faded him this week. But I understand why you're making the value play because it's just the right play. But honestly, man, it's nerve-wracking, and you're going to see him because what he's going to do is he's going to be overly aggressive, try to swing down in front of somebody, and spin out. That's what he always does here. And I'm really worried about it. But on the off chance that that's not what happens, you have to own him because his place differential will be crazy. Liehr.
Yeah, but we'd all rather have someone doing that like McMurray does than someone doing what Clint Boyer does and riding in the back. I think we could all agree on that.
Oh, yeah. Every Sunday. Every Sunday or Saturday. Every race day. I would much rather have a guy.
Please do not mention that name on this show ever again, by the way.
After he burned us all last week, too. Oh, that was so brutal. Just know, guys, I took it hard on the Boyer play, and I even diversified. So, Liehr, let's look to greener pastures, man.
Yes.
What value play do you have for us?
All right, boys. My value play this week, this guy we've been talking about him pretty much every week, but how can you not talk about this outstanding rookie, Chase Elliott? Elliott, for sure, has been a Rookie of the Year candidate so far. He's in the mix for the Sprint Cup Chase spot going into tomorrow night's race. He starts here at Daytona from the pole earlier this season. And yeah, he was our going to the garage pick back then. And that was a great pick to start off our season because he did end up finishing 37th. But there are greener pastures for Chase Elliott. And like I said, he's starting this week from a really, really good position. And ironically, it's from the 24th position for the number 24. But he's going to be going out there. He's got a lot of, other level experience here, Xfinity and truck level experience. He does have one top 5 here in the Xfinity series. And like I said, that Sun Energy 1 paint scheme with those sweet orange chromed out wheels. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check that out yet, but the car is looking sick this week. But like I said, I pick Elliott. This week is my value play. Great guy, under 9,000. His cost this week is 8,800. He has 14 top 10s out of 19 starts this year, which is unbelievable for a rookie. The kid is just on fire. And that starting position, starting from the 24th position or higher, he definitely has the ability in that Hendrick car to go up, lead some laps, obviously get fastest laps if he's going to go up to the front. and have a good shot of taking home his first ever Sprint Cup win this week. So I'm calling it right here, right now. Chase Elliott has a really good shot of winning tomorrow night with Martin Truex Jr. and Dale Earnhardt. Yes, I know that's 3 drivers, but those are guys will at least be top 3.
I'm calling it right now. Any driver in the field has a shot to win this week because it's this time. No, I'm just messing with you, bro. I absolutely love the Elliott play. The qualifying 24th is just pure sexiness when it comes from a DFS standpoint. Elliott has an Xfinity win here at Daytona. What's awesome here is the stat hunters and the casual players on NASCAR will probably not be on him because he's a little high priced at the 8,800 mark. And what they'll do is they'll look to his race history and see that he qualified first, finished 34th, and they won't want a piece of him. I'm hoping that drives ownership percentage down a little bit on him. I'm all over Elliott this week when I can fit him into lineups. That price, though, does kind of limit you when you can put him in lineups, though. That's my only problem. Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, my value pick was stolen by Jamie. This was going to be my guy. I mean, he's been my guy. It seems like the past 5 weeks I've been picking Chase Elliott just because it's just been the right play every single week. And I was really hoping he qualified bad because I love that paint scheme and I really want to cheer for it tomorrow night. So I'm glad I can. Chase Elliott is going to be one of the starting points for all of my teams. I really like, combining Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and starting from there. Just because of the place differential chance those guys have, and they have that Chevy power. But yeah, Jamie said it. Chase Elliott, I'm all over it. I mean, you'd be crazy to not see how good of an opportunity he has this weekend.
Agreed. So, guys,
check's coming to you in the mail, Adrian. Sorry for taking a pick.
I guess that explains the Jamie Mack pick then, doesn't it? No, I'm just messing with you. No, guys, I know I've gotten off a little bit crazy the last few weeks and not giving you the true definition of value, but I decided to go back to the old school and give you the best value play that's out there this week, and that's Landon Castle at 5,600. He qualified 34th, and the only time he's ever finished below that mark is when he blew an engine. Even the time he wrecked on this track, he still finished above the 34 mark. His average finish here is 24th, and that's a plus 10 place differential, and for 5,600, you aren't going to statistically find a better driver at that salary. What I really like him is that in his last 2 starts here, he is plus 11 over today's qualifying position and plus 21 in place differential over today's qualifying position, and that's just where he finished, including as high of a 13th place finish. Look, guys, anytime you super value save, you're rolling the dice. The stats say, though, that Castle is the best dice roll that you can make at that lower level. I think that basically, he's the 7. He's going to pay out on the first roll. And he has the highest probability to hit. I like Castle this week. Your guys' thoughts?
Oh yeah, I love Landon Castle. He's always got a nice price tag associated with him, and he usually has a nice qualifying spot from a DFS perspective attached to him. Because the guy does overperform a lot of the time, just based on the equipment that he goes out there and competes in. And restricted plate tracks are, as tracks. He's really good at short tracks, but he's become very successful on these restricted plate tracks. Just based on what kind of equipment he's in. So I mean, at his price tag, it's Landon Castle. When you get that cheap, it's Landon Castle and then my guy Trevor Bayne, starting for 13th. Those are the 2 guys. Like if you're going down to save money, Landon Castle and Trevor Bayne are the 2 guys that I keep gravitating towards. And I know Trevor's qualified 13th, but he's a previous Daytona 500 winner. Like I said with David McMurray, this is a very important race for his team because it's his best chance to make the chase, by winning this race, and he can do it. And he's done it before. So yeah, I mean, if you're going down to save money, Landon Castle, Trevor Bayne, those are the guys.
Well, boys, I'm right there with you. I do like the Landon Castle play. The guy, obviously, with the starting position where he's going to be starting at there in the 34th spot. I mean, there's no other guy or driver in that area except for maybe David Reagan-ish that I would take over Landon Castle for the place differential. And here's something else that, a lot of people may have forgotten about already in 2016, but Any bells ringing, boys, with the Geico 500 at Talladega, where he started 32nd, finished 11th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 11th.
I think he got fourth and one or something.
I don't know.
All I know, dude, is
I'm not
Castle
seeing it
has
here.
made me a lot of money
It
at
would
various points
definitely
of
be
the year.
Talladega. But so, I mean, you know, like I said, Geico 500, he started basically from the same position and finished in the 11th spot. And that it totally can happen here, where other tracks, you know, we're talking about, okay, he's got to work his way up and move himself up and get up there. But let's be real here. I mean, a lot of there's at least going to be one, if not two wrecks that's going to take out, you know, a possibility of up to 10 cars per wreck. And you're just going to have some of those rando picks and rando drivers that are going to be out there that are going to have that crazy finish, like a David Gilliland. But, you know, Landon Castle at $5,600, you can't do much better than that, especially if you're going to go with the strategy this week of sticking up, you know, one of the two big guys over that $10,000 mark. That's definitely the salary relief that you're going to need with a Landon Castle at his $5,600 price point. But Landon Castle, definitely like Landon. He is a great guy, a good driver, especially getting better here at these restrictor plates. And not only that, boys, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Landon, on July the 7th. So maybe he's going to come up and have a good finish this weekend for the Coke 0400. But best of luck to you, Landon, and I'll definitely have some exposure to Landon Castle this weekend.
Sweet. That wraps up our value segment. And I actually adhered to your guys' value principle for once. All right. Now it's time for the Going to the Garage segment. This is a segment where we get to talk trash on the drivers. Well, maybe we like the driver, and maybe we just don't like how their track history. Maybe we hate the driver and hate their track history. Maybe we don't like how DraftKings has them priced this week. Any of the above reasons are the reasons why we send people to the garage. Adrian, who you got going to the garage this week, buddy?
Yeah, guys, I mean, my pick for going to the garage might be a little confusing to those viewers that are just starting out playing DFS and have kind of tried to watch the trends of our show and notice that we've been playing the pole sitter a lot. This weekend, we're not playing the pole sitter. We're all three of us are 100% off of Greg Biffle, starting on the pole in that number 16 Ford Fusion for Jack Roush. I love Greg Biffle, and I love the speed Roush Fenway has, you know, this weekend. And, you know, with that car being the same one that Trevor Bain's driving, it makes me feel good about the Bain play even more. But starting on the pole, you know, he just has no potential to move up, you know, as far as place differential. And, you know, he probably won't lead any laps, and he probably won't pay off his salary. And he also only has 4 top 10s in his last 12 Daytona starts. So that just proves he's not, you know, capable of running up there with those guys. Like I said, once the Gibbs cars get up there, and, you know, the Hendrick cars find their way to the front too, you're going to get bullied out of the top 10, and he's going to start falling back into the top 15, top 20s. But yeah, he's just not a savvy DFS player. I know he's only 6,500, but that's not the route you want to go when you're trying to save money this week.
I'm almost at a loss for this year. I don't think I can ever remember us since we've started playing daily fantasy NASCAR of a guy that has been on the pole that has cost you less than $7,000 in salary. It's just unheard of. And I, you know, as a Ford guy, I definitely love the speed that Roush Fenway has been presenting here at Daytona, and they're getting better, man. I mean, all of those guys, Ricky Stenhouse, Trevor Bain, Biffle is just an old school guy, but overall as a team, they are getting better and better. But I'm totally wholeheartedly with you right there, Adrian. Absolutely no positively way whatsoever should any of our viewers or anybody out there play Greg Biffle this week. He's not going to lead any laps. He's definitely not going to win the race. All he really has is the opportunity to lose points in this race this weekend. Unfortunately for you know, qualifying so high and on the pole, but you know, definitely love the speed. He was a great play last week. You had to have him to take down a tournament, but this week it's a completely different ball game. And unfortunately, Biffle will not have any daily fantasy NASCAR value this week. So, but good luck to you, though, Greggy.
Yeah.
Oh, Poppa, can I just go ahead and butt in? I just wanted to say that because Greg Biffle's on the pole, I think his ownership percentage is probably going to be above 25%. And I think if you don't pick Greg Biffle and you go ahead and make that decision, Greg Biffle, and we're all three telling you it's the decision to make, I think you can get on a decent buy-in by not playing Greg Biffle. And then when Biff has the day that we're telling you he's going to have, it's going to help you, hedge a lot of those teams that have Greg Biff.
Yeah, and had you actually let me go, I was going to say that. But I was just going to say that was pretty much exactly what I was. That was pretty much exactly what I was going to say, Adrian. Yeah, especially coming off of the fact that you had to have him last week to finish high up because of his points. A lot of the points chasers that don't understand how DFS NASCAR works will see that point total and chase him again. Plus, he's sitting on the pole. They'll have this thought in their head that he's going to lead laps and be the fastest car. Those of us that know NASCAR know that's not how it works here at Daytona. And as soon as Jimmy and the JGR cars team up, they will blow right by him. I don't even think he leads a lap. I'm being honest there.
But there's going to be one thing, though, a lot of people are going to be asking themselves, and that is if he ends up with a top 10 finish, with his cost at $6,500, let's just say something happens and he ends up getting a top 10 finish. Does he pay off his salary? I mean, with the points that you could get having that top 10. Now, he's obviously not going to have any place differential points. He's going to lose points in that perspective. But at that price point, is it still worth it, though, at that price point? I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
No, I think if you're arguing that and he's just getting a top 10 finish, then yes, he's absolutely worth it. The problem is I think Adrian's more right in this, that he's probably going to fall back to 15 to the 20 range. And in that case, you're talking about negative 15 to negative 20 points off the draw and less points for his finishing position. In which case, I just think that the other drivers, honestly, the math would say if that happens, Castle will outpoint him at 5,600. That's what the math says. If he falls back, because Castle won't be dealing with negative points. If we assume those two scenarios, Castle will outpoint him and save money. I understand it, and basically out of 100 lineups, if I wasn't worried about what other people's ownership percentage, if I was running 100 lineups this week, I'd maybe own him once, maybe twice, but no more than that. Like, no more than 2% exposure, and I think the field is going to be 25 to 35% exposure, and it may even be higher because of how cheap he is. And if we can get away, if everybody in the field is taking a negative there, and we're smarter than that, I think it just gets you way ahead in the field. And that's where I want to be sitting this weekend. Liehr, who do you got going to the garage this week, man?
Here we go.
Oh, good Lord. He laughed. Oh, this is going to be brutal.
So it started off as a great Friday in the number 18 garage. All four JGR vehicles are in practice, and they're all together. And then all of a sudden, I'm watching practice, and then all of a sudden, I just see Kyle Busch go like this in the interstate car, and they go whoop, and right up the turn there, straight into the wall. But thank God he was okay. That was definitely a absolutely horrific wreck, and it's something to say about how the cars have come along in their engineering and design for driver safety, along with the track because of the safer barriers. Because I don't know if you guys watched that film, but did you see all the energy that was in the car and just dissipate throughout the track? But it's definitely one of those things where, over time they've come a very, very long way, especially there at Daytona, because obviously I'm assuming a lot of more of that came from Dale Earnhardt's death. So, but back to the task at hand here. Kyle Busch, in 2015, Rowdy was one of the best drivers, obviously, on the circuit after recovering from his broken leg that he got at Daytona, ironically. He had most wins during that time period. At Daytona, Kyle has only won the race once back in 2008. In Kyle's last 5 races here at Daytona, he started 1st, 37th, 39th, 13th, and he started 4th this year in 2016 with finishes of 12th, 19th, 28th, 17th, and 3rd. And he led 19 laps in the February Daytona race to start the season. Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously those guys carry good speed each week in and out. And obviously with 3 out of the 4 Gibbs cars starting in the top 10 this week, they're continuing that trend. Like I said, he's raced a total of 22 races here with 13 top 10 finishes. So, he has some pretty good finishes there, average finish in the top 10. But his average finish is 14th. Average starting position is 14th with an average finish of 18th. But he qualified in the third spot this week. Surprisingly, though, in that backup car after that practice, like I said, when he cut down that left rear tire, but his cost is a little bit expensive. He's right there at that $10K price point at $9,900. So if you're on that train this week, my advice to you is to get off the train and get off fast. Busch is not going to pay off his $9,900 price tag this week because he's just, over the past month, he's had some really, really horrible races. All begins with his attitude that he has that week. And his history here with a broken leg, today's crash, just a lot of negative vibes and feelings for Kyle Busch here at Daytona. So it's just, my Rain Man in me is telling me that something is just not, it's not going to work out for Busch this week, especially with him and his price point at $9,900. So my advice to you is to get off the Busch rowdy train this week.
Yeah, I want to say props to NASCAR on the safety improvements and the safety barrier. Like, amazing upgrades there and making the race safer for all involved. I can't, however, give you props for this play, bro. I'm wanting to quote Coming to America and be like, "You must be out of your mind," right? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, he wrecked his car in practice, but then he came back out and destroyed qualifying. And these cars are really fast. And when he tends to wreck in practice, he then goes on and has an amazing finish. But what I can't fathom here, Liehr, is you literally advocated a burning rubber guy that has a worse track history here, and than Kyle Busch. And your argument when I made those arguments was that wrecks can't be something you account for. And so if we throw wrecks out of the equation, like Kyle Busch, if we have wrecks in the equation, Kyle Busch is a better driver at Daytona. If we take wrecks out of the equation, Kyle Busch is a better driver at Daytona. I just don't understand this play. And when you were going over most of the reasons, other than your gut, and like if Kyle has a bad attitude, I don't see why you would make this play as a fade. These JGR cars are just way too fast.
It's recent history here, okay? So out of his last 9 races, only third, which is this spring race or this spring race here at Daytona in 2016, he started fourth and finished third. Everyone else since 2012, he's finished higher than 12th or higher. So all his major track history here has all become before the 2008 season. So a lot of it recently here has not been good for Kyle Busch at Daytona, where it's just the opposite with Martin Truex, where he's got a lot more success here at Daytona. That's my reasoning for that.
Well, both of them have a recent second and a third, and after that, they have a bunch of garbage. I'm just saying they're the same pick, regardless. Adrian, your thoughts, man?
Except mine's cheaper.
I haven't actually noticed that. I don't agree with Kyle Busch being going to a garage pick. I want to get that out of the way first. But I've actually noticed that Kyle Busch usually crashes whenever he shaves his head. And he shaved his head this weekend, guys. I might be crazy, but I might be the only one that notices that. But it seems like every time Kyle Busch shaves his head, he crashes the car. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to say he's going to do that this weekend. I think he's a fine play this weekend. There are a lot of plays I like better than him just because he's in the back of the car, and I know Joe Gibbs puts great backup cars out there. I know they're probably just the same car. And I'm definitely going to have some exposure on Kyle Busch. But I like Kevin Harvick's place differential more, and I like a lot of other guys' place differential chance more, because I don't know if a driver's going to be able to go out and dominate this race. And if it is a driver that goes out and dominates this race, I don't know that Kyle Busch has to, because he doesn't have any chance to get any place differential. I think he'll have a 40-point day, but I don't think that you can afford that at his price.
No, you got to have more than 4 times his salary.
Yeah, I just can't. Obviously, I can't advocate telling people to fade one of the best drivers on the circuit on a track where he has good history and literally anything can happen. That's just my opinion.
I agree, Poppa.
All right, I think that transitions me to the guy I have going to the garage, which people are going to be upset with me again, and I always pick on this guy, but I'm right, and I'll explain why I'm picking on him this week. So I think it's even more important. Tony Stewart at 8,300 is who I'm sending to the garage this week. And I'm going to bank on his prior performances here at Daytona and fade Stewart for the most part, almost completely. In his last 4 races here, he doesn't have 5 because of his back injury in the for the Daytona 500. His high finish is 14th, and at $8,300, that's a possible +5 in place differential. That doesn't pay off his point total when you add that with the finishing point, with his finishing points. The masses are going to be on him after his win last week, and with the 19th place qualification, it's going to bump even more people onto him, especially at that price tag. I've already heard all sorts of people in this industry talking up how Tony Stewart got a win. Now the monkey's off his back. He's going to be able to just let it all hang out there and just drive and win. And they're telling people that he's going to win this race, and it just blows my mind because his track history here is 14th, 42nd, 40th, 2nd, 41st, and I had to go back 8 races to get a first place out of it. So 2 out of 7 times, you have to have him on this track. 4 out of 7 times, he will cost you every bit of money you've played on him and be the bane of your existence. And 1 out of 7 times, like that's just a guy I can easily fade for the most part. And I mean, I'll have a couple just in case, guys. I'm going to be honest with you, but man, majority, like maybe 1 or 2, but majority of me is fading Tony Stewart this week. I don't like smoke at this track, and track history says you shouldn't like him either. Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand at all the other people in the industry telling people to play Tony Stewart this weekend. It's pretty easy to win when you get a dish rag caution. I mean, there was a shop rag out of the groove that wasn't going to affect the race. The only reason you were going to hit that wall is if you're going off the track. No one's been over on that part of the track since Jerry Nadeau in the late 1990s when he went off the track and crashed. So, I mean, last week's a different story. I'm just going to get over that because I don't think it but I want to bring up the point that these races, in this race particularly tomorrow at Daytona, is you're going to be on the edge of your seat these last 20 laps because I think that it's going to get so intense that some drivers are going to make some mistakes. But I don't think that's going to be why Tony goes out. I think that Tony isn't going to be aggressive because he already has that win and knowing the back injury he has. I don't like playing that storyline. I know Tony Stewart hates when people play that storyline, so I'm sorry, Tony. But I just want to point out the fact that there's no reason for Tony to go up here in this pack and be aggressive like Dale Earnhardt because he already has his win and he does not need to crash if he's going to finish in the top 30 to make this chase.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I think Tony Stewart's going to be protecting his assets, and I don't think that he's going to be trying to be on the offensive side. So I'm not on the Tony Stewart play this weekend. I don't think he's capable.
He does have that win, but he still sits 32nd in points, boys. So he's not guaranteed a lock to be in the chase by any means yet. So he still has to be aggressive, especially if he wants to make the chase his last season in NASCAR. So, being in that 19th spot, it's kind of a little bit of a mixed play for me because I do like how he qualified a little bit high this week. But even though, too, that price point at $8,300 coming down from obviously last week and coming off the win is going to give him some momentum. And like you had talked about, everybody in NASCAR saying, okay, now Tony's got his monkey off his back and he's going to get back to the old Tony. So I'm going to be a little bit of a mix betweener here. I'm not really sold on Tony Stewart yet just because he won last week. But on the other hand, I'm a little bit intrigued because he could, come out of nowhere and just have another good finish and be a good place differential guy at 8,300. So I will have some minimal exposure on Tony Stewart when it comes to my teams this weekend.
Yeah, see, the thing that I left out is I like what you're arguing there, and I don't have a problem with the people arguing that means that he's got to race well and get. I just see a different conclusion. It's Daytona, right? Doesn't that mean he pulls a Boyer, falls back, lets everybody else wreck, and gets those guaranteed points to move him up into 30th? I mean, that's what I'm doing if I'm the team owner and I'm sitting there. Like, let's let these other guys wreck. Like, you intentionally fall back. Let's stay clear. And when they wreck, we just gain points every time somebody knocks themselves out of this race. And that gets us there. We already have our win. We just have to be inside the top 30. And if he literally does that from here on out, there's zero chance that he doesn't make the chase. If he goes out and races and actually tries to win races, there's a big chance that he doesn't get it done Like a terrible performance here could almost completely knock him out and force him to almost get another win, right? I think you're going to see Smoke play safe. I could be wrong.
Strategy is obviously going to play a part into this, and it always will be. But you can't ask a NASCAR driver to play on the defensive. They're always going to be on the offensive because you know what? That's what's ingrained in them. That's what they do. They're trained to go up to the front and wanting to lead laps and win the race. They're not going to be like, well, we're just going to kind of hang out in the back. Now, yes, it is Daytona, and there are going to be different strategies that play in effect. But you know, his crew chief's not going to say, hey, Tony, we need to go all the way to the back of the pack and wait until then we'll go play it out. Like the only thing that's going to result from that is they're going to end up being part of the wreck because he's not being aggressive enough. So I couldn't disagree with you more there.
All right. Well, if that's the truth,
I think Tony will ride at the back of the pack for the most of the race because if he wrecks, that just puts such a hindrance on him being in the top 30. And if he can't, and I think that their main objective when they have their team meetings this weekend is going to be finish inside the top 25. Just do that. That's all they need for the rest of the season is just finish inside the top 25 every week. And you have to remember, he may have won last week, but other than last week, the other reason people call him Smoke is because that's what you see whenever you pick Tony Stewart on your lineup. Is he's running from the caskets on fire.
I thought it was because you had to be smoking something to want to play him in DFS.
That's it. Good stuff.
I will give it to you both boys there. So
no, I just guys if I'm a crew chief and my goal is to make the chase, especially with my driver's retiring season, then yes, I have to tell them instinctually that you shouldn't be trying to race to win right now. Like instinctually, you need to be in the back of the pack playing smart. Now, like a good coach does that. A bad coach doesn't.
He knows what to do.
Right. I think Smoke's smart enough that he understands that and will do it. But that wraps up our going to the garage, wraps up our picks for this week. Now it's time for most people's favorite segment, which is where and something we're extremely proud of here at the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We show you a lineup and build it with you, showing you a lineup that will actually be in the contest. This week, instead of doing the $5 lug nut, there's a huge $4 tournament. We're going to have that entry rolling in the $4 tournament that pays $50K to first place.
NASCAR 300K Firecracker on July 4th weekend.
There we go. We got some firecracker love before people play with firecrackers themselves. All right. Where are we starting this lineup? We starting it with the 88? We're just going to make it chalky?
Oh, you already know it. You took the words out of my mouth, Poppa.
All right. 88's on it. That's his pick. Liehr, do not steer us in the wrong direction. Please just say Chase.
I actually was going to recommend somebody else, but I'm right there when it comes to Adrian's love. A guy that we did not talk about, but he's in the Busch number 4 this week, even though he's really expensive. But I do love Kevin Harvick, especially starting from that 21st position. So, I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to say Chase Elliott, number 24, starting from the 24. It's got to be on there.
Yep. And so guys, when you're looking at it, that starts giving you a salary of $76.50 left. Now, since we talked about it in the show, I think it's only appropriate to go down and grab the value and show you what that does. So let's go ahead and throw a castle on the team. And while we're down here, another guy, one of the drivers that if you're statistically looking at, has a decent history at a restrictor plate racing and has a decent qualifying spot is Matty DB. You guys know I've had some love for the Benedetto in the past, and he's made me some money. So if you're reaching, those are the kind of guys you want to reach on. We've already mentioned a few of the others. But I'm going to go ahead and lock Castle on this team to give us some more money to play around with. When you put Castle on, that brings you back up to $8,333. Adrian, what direction are we going to go? Do we want another value guy, or what are we doing?
I want Jamie McMurray.
All right. Jamie Mack at $7,800. It frees up a little bit of salary. That leaves $8,600 remaining. Liehr, which way are you going to take us? Are you going to spend it, or are you going to give me money to make my pick?
Well, why don't I just go ahead and give you the opportunity to pick who you like best, so that way you can get a chance to put it like either a guy that you really like that costs a lot or somebody of value.
Fair enough. That way, if it crashes and burns, it's on me. I appreciate it.
There you go.
All right, so where are you going, Liehr?
I was defaulting to you, bro, letting you take the pick.
Oh, you want me to just spend the money and leave you left over, huh?
Well, we'll do whatever you want.
You know what? Let's see, what would that do? I'm gonna say Carl Edwards
Hey, Poppa,
is
don't do what you're gonna do.
what?
Okay, that's fine. Do that. Yeah.
I've
I'm
already
just trying to
talked.
make sure that you didn't
Well, the problem is guys.
go
Normally,
with Carl Edwards.
I would like to go with Hamlin, but I don't want to hamstring Lear's pick so much that extra $500 will really matter. Like if he's in the range I think he's in, right? Or maybe it won't, and maybe we can upgrade. But Lear, who are you looking for?
So basically, that leaves us with $7,900.
Yep, you got Dylan on down.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this lineup that we have here, and then looking what we have left, it's going to be really hard to decide on who to pick. But honestly, my pick here, and I hate to say it, but it would totally be Trevor Bayne, and that would leave salary left over and lead us a little bit something different. Leave a lot of salary on the table, but also the number 6 boys, and obviously Mr. Advocare, here on the other line, he knows how good he's looking. Like I said earlier, starting the show, Roush Fenway has been looking really, really fast. And, Trevor Bayne, he's a former Daytona 500 winner here. So starting from the 13th position does not scare me in the least bit with Trevor Bayne, especially at what you're talking about, that $6,200 price point. But anybody else on that board, I mean, yeah, there's Ryan Blaney. I'm not playing Clint Boyer. I may think about going off.
I like Newman a little bit.
Yeah, and Ensign Newman. But I like Trevor Bayne more than I like any of those.
Menard's not terrible
if you leave
at his
money on the table, no one's gonna have that lineup.
Right, and money like Menard's not terrible with his starting position. I'm with you though, and I think this makes a great point for those viewers of ours that are still here. Guys, we're talking about a field of 86,000 people to take down this 50K first place prize. You have to be different. People that spend all their salary, well, those lineups have an extremely high probability of being duplicated over and over and over again in an 86,000 person field. You being comfortable with leaving money on the table, it will help you differentiate from the masses. And not a lot of people will tell you that, but I'll be honest and throw it out there to you guys. I actually love that lineup. I'm going to go ahead and click enter. And with that said, it wraps up another Rubbing His Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show. Hopefully, we're going to make a lot of money this week, all of us, and hopefully so will you as our viewers. I just hope you don't beat me. We'll let everybody say their goodbyes. Adrian, send us out, man.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Should be a very exciting weekend for Daytona. July 4th weekend, it's always such a great American spectacle to, sit around the TV or maybe go to the race with your family and, just enjoy the great weather. But it should be a great race for DFS players. If they listen to our advice, for the most part, we had a mixed bag of opinions. But, there's still the same general core of guys that were on and that were off. So, just go with your gut and don't let people tell you that a certain pick just because they think so. If you think that's a good pick, just roll with it, because with it being such a large tournament, anything's possible, and anyone can hit it. So good luck to everybody out there, and thanks for watching.
Where? Say your goodbyes, bro.
All right, guys. Appreciate you watching the show as always every single week. We love interacting with you. We've been having a lot of responses on our YouTube page, so we will respond to everybody if you leave a comment. But appreciate the love everybody's showing. Don't forget about the Greg Biffle diecast signed SpongeBob SquarePants 400 vehicle. But also too, real quick, wanted to give a shout out. I got mine in the mail this week. But go out there on FurnitureRoadRacing.com and support a great cause for Martin Truex Jr. Foundation and Sherry Pollux. It's a wristband. It says never give up. But it goes to a good cause for cancer research. But everybody have a great 4th of July weekend. And like I said, I appreciate you watching the show. And if you're looking for some sponsorship, we got some positions available out there for all you businesses listening. So would love to talk to you. So get a hold of us.
Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in as always. Best of luck to everyone. Remember, you guys are why we do this, that and our love of NASCAR. We want to get as many people involved. And remember, when we're arguing with each other, it's because that's what we believe real fantasy is about, right? Is talking out your opinions, hashing out your reasons why you're on a driver or why you're not. And that's the same for every sport. Like NASCAR, football, baseball, that's the process that you should go through. And that's what we stress here. Hopefully you enjoyed another episode of the Rubbin' His Racing Show. With that said, guys, have a great 4th of July weekend. Everybody be safe and enjoy it. Later.
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America.